for those of you who may have stumbled in here by accident and don't know what you're getting into, is called forgiveness culture. And come on, one time, meet me. Let me hit a bonus. Meet me. I've never wanted a bonus so bad. Thank you so much, Sonia. I've never wanted a bonus so bad. Like one time badge until Live Fest, and then I'm gonna give it up, and then I'm just gonna be a regular streamer. One time for the one time, right? I'm just gonna be a regular streamer with the show. But welcome, guys. For those of you who've never been here before, my name is Matthew, and this is a featured and sponsored show by the Meet Group community that is all about the topic of forgiveness. And every week we have guests who come on the show and share real life forgiveness stories from their own life. And we are inspired. Thank you, Donnie. And thank you, Sonia. We are inspired. We are motivated. And we learn from these stories on how to follow a forgiveness path in our own life. Guys, I'm going to be a little bit more diamond baggy than usual for the next couple weeks because again, guys, we are just aiming to keep this top badge until Live Fest. That's it. And then no more 80K. Whatever you gift after that is just appreciate it, but I'm really, meet me. Let me hit a bonus one time. Edo, thank you. One time, meet me. Let me hit a bonus to relieve these people of their responsibilities, Okay. So say, Sonia, thank you guys. Everyone who I see you guys give I appreciate you guys more than I know. And guys, listen, whatever you give, I'm more than willing to send back to you. So just let me know what you want to do. Anyways, guys, I am your host, Matthew, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about what inspired this show, Forgiveness Culture. Okay, so there is a charity based in the UK called the Forgiveness Project. And what the Forgiveness Project is they have a book. They have a website, they have a radio show, a podcast, video podcast, and they travel to mental health seminars and conferences all over the world, sharing stories from all over the world about forgiveness. And the stories they share are really, truly radical. And the stories that they share are like they're like forgiveness stories of like family members of murder victims. We're talking about survivors of, whoa, not the Stones, not Mutt's Angel coming in and stealing the 46.1 right off the bat. Not Mutt's going in the profile for 46.1. Welcome back, Mutts. Thank you so much. Wow, listen, look at me getting all flustered. Woo! Y'all, I tell you, I'm too ADHD not to notice gifts. I'm not supposed to, but listen, what are they gonna do? They're gonna repossess my forgiveness show? I don't think so. All right. You know how many people would be mad? But anyways, guys, this show is inspired by that charity that I just talked about a few moments ago called the Forgiveness Project. And we do something similar here. Ooh, big boy wheel. We do something similar here on the Meet Me platform, and we bring guests. Thank you so much. We bring guests who come every week, and they share their own real life stories of forgiveness from their own life. So hopefully that you can be motivated and inspired to explore a forgiveness path in your own life. This week, guys, we got a guest who usually works behind the scenes. He's often seen, but never really seen. We see this guy in the comments section. We see this guy sharing featured show trailers that he carefully crafts. But rarely do we get to see the man behind the curtain. Rarely do we get to see the actual face of the man, the myth, the legend. Thank you so much, Mutts. The man, the myth, the legend. Thank you so much. Emoji J is here, and we're actually going to get to see him live and in the flesh. But on a more serious note, he's going to be sharing. Thank you guys so much for the gifts. Big thank you to Mutts. Y'all, please make sure y'all favorite Mutts. Liz, no, you're a good guy. we all know Emoji J, but he's going to share a real life story with us. And these are real stories every single week. And that's what I love about this show. So let me tell you a little bit about how this show is going to go. The first thing that we're going to do is we are going to do, as we do every week, we're going to start talking about what forgiveness is. Now, you know, a lot of people tell me, Matthew, you say the same, well, I'm going to say a bad word. You say the same thing every single week. We all know what forgiveness is, right? Well, do you? Do you? Well, maybe you do, right? Maybe you know what forgiveness is, maybe you don't. But because it's always nice to have a refresher, right? It's always nice to have a good reminder, right? And there are those maybe who are here for the first time, right? So we're going to talk about what forgiveness is. We're going to talk about what forgiveness is from both a static context, and what I mean by that is a concrete definition of forgiveness that we can refer back to. And then we're going to talk about what forgiveness is from a more dynamic context. What does forgiveness look like in different people's lives and in different situations? Because we all know that forgiving someone is going to look very different depending on who we're forgiving and what we're forgiving them for. So we're going to jump into all of that when we talk about what forgiveness is. The next segment of this show is called the Forgiveness Challenge segment of the show. Now, the Forgiveness Challenge segment of the show, ooh, big boy wheel. The Forgiveness Challenge segment of the show is when I know, right? I get so distracted. Thank you. Marty! The Forgiveness Challenge segment of the show is when we talk about an aspect of forgiveness that may be particularly challenging, that may be a little bit difficult. Maybe it's a little bit misunderstood. But sometimes during the Forgiveness Challenge segment of the show, we open the floor to questions. So we're going to do that here tonight. So during our second segment of the show is when thank you so much, Marty. Thank you. We are going to open the floor to questions. So if you have any specific questions about forgiveness, this will be your time to answer. Marty, thank you. Speaking of another man, the myth, the legend, Marty, so great. No one's ever seen anything like it. Everyone knows Marty's so huge, so amazing. And anybody who says otherwise is completely rigged. It comes from China. All right. I don't know why I just busted into a Trump impersonation out of nowhere. It has nothing to do with forgiveness. I don't know. I'm in a goofy mood tonight, y'all. So whatever. Here we are. But we're glad you're here. Then, guys, we share an example of forgiveness, either from popular culture, current events, or history. That's called our forgiveness example. And then my favorite portion of the show will come on about halfway through the show, and that's our guest share. And again, guys, we have an amazing guest. Thank you, Marty. We have an amazing guest with what's his name? Emoji J. That's the thing. I'm so distracted today, guys. I'm so distracted. I'm in such a goofy mood. I almost forgot who our guest was. I had a brain freeze. I'm like, wait a minute. Who's our guest tonight? I just said it like 10 seconds ago. It's Emoji J. So welcome. So let's talk about, I know, right? Matthew focus. Listen, Vic, you should know by now that I have no focus abilities whatsoever, but it's okay. One more thing before we get started, guys. Please remember that this is a featured show, so please keep the comments respectful. No disrespectful comments towards me, no disrespectful comments towards the content, and no disrespectful comments, especially towards my guests. My guests come on every week and they share personal and private stories with you so that you can be inspired and that you can be motivated. So we are going to be respectful of them and respectful of the show. And we do have bouncers here. So if you can't be respectful, you will be escorted out by one of them. But we don't anticipate anything of that happening. Let's get to the show. So what is forgiveness? We talk about this every week. Let's get into one of forgiveness. Let's get into our definitions. And let's get into what it means. Now, you guys know, my regulars know enough about this show that they could probably write in the comment section what the definition of forgiveness is, right? You've heard it so many times, you probably know it by heart now, right? Forgiveness is releasing the right to hate, releasing the right to revenge. And Vic, what do? When we do that to ourselves, we release ourselves from what? We release ourselves from the chains of victimhood. That's right. Forgiveness is releasing the right to hate, releasing the right to revenge, and in so doing, releasing ourselves from the chains of victimhood. Now, a lot of people get forgiveness confused with pardoning or letting someone off the hook. A lot of people falsely think that when we forgive someone, we're excusing them from the behavior that they did. We're releasing them from the accountability of their actions, but that's not true. And we're going to get into that in a moment when we talk about the dynamic aspects of forgiveness. But what forgiveness is really saying is that someone hurt me and I'm not going to continue that cycle of hurt. I am not going to walk around with that negative energy that burdens me. I'm not going to walk around with that toxicity that burdens me day after day, week after week, month after month. Because when someone hurts us, right, what is our natural reaction? Kraken, thank you. When someone hurts us, what is our natural reaction, right? We want to hurt them back, or at the very least, we want to see them hurt in the same kind of way, right? Exactly. What goes around comes around. But what forgiveness is we're saying that even though we have a right to that hatred, even though we have a right to take revenge, we're surrendering that right. We're sacrificing that right for our own mental and spiritual and emotional well-being. But it goes against our nature. And we have to keep that in mind. It goes against our nature to forgive someone, because when someone hurts us, we want to hurt them back. But forgiveness is first and foremost is for ourselves, guys. Forgiveness is first and foremost for ourselves. It's so that we don't have to walk around with that negative energy. Okay? Because if John hurts me, right? Is maybe John did something, maybe John's a friend of mine and John stabbed me in the back. John did something very disrespectful to me. And I walk around with that, I know, right? It's freaking John. Thank you, Kraken. And I walk around day after day, week after week with that, oh, I hate that John. I can't believe John did that to me. Oh, F that John. I can't stand that John, right? Do you think that John is out there in the universe, like feeling that hatred? Do you think that John is out there going, wow, I should really change my ways? Matthew really hates me. John ain't thinking about me. John's out doing his own thing, but the person who's being burdened by that negative energy day after day is me. I'm the one carrying that around. So what forgiveness is saying, like, listen, I am not going to let that hurt affect my best life. All right. The best revenge you can actually take against someone is to show them that what they did has no power over you. I'm going to say that one again. The best revenge you can take against someone is to show them that what they did has no power over you. And to show them that, listen, my peace, my happiness, my best life is not going to be affected because of what you did to me. I'm going to press forward. I'm going to let that go, all that negative energy. Now, a lot of y'all I saw in the comment section saying, oh, I forgive, but I don't forget. Now, listen, if that's you, I want you to go check out my Instagram, because I posted a video about that very recently. Of course, when we forgive, we don't forget. But the reason that we don't forget is not so that we can hold it against the person who hurt us. The reason that we don't forget is so that we can learn from what happened, grow from that experience, and protect ourselves better next time. But the reason that we don't forget is not so that we can hold it against that person. I'm never going to forget what John did to me. That doesn't do nothing for nobody. Right? Now, here's the problem about when we fail to forgive, right? When we fail to forgive, we're holding on to a hurt that doesn't really have any effect on anybody but us. When we fail to forgive, we are basically poisoning ourselves. We're drinking poison and hoping that the other person dies. We're poisoning ourselves, thinking that we're protecting ourselves somehow, thinking that we're somehow, speaking to a misguided sense of justice within us, right? But forgiveness is about saying, listen, I'm not going to let that hurt that happened on me, I'm not going to transfer that onto other people. Because what do we know about hurt people? When someone is hurt, when someone hurts us, when we know that hurt people hurt people. So if exactly, Ben's one of my regulars. Ben knows the deal. Hurt people hurt people. So if I fail to forgive, not only am I giving that person who hurt me power over myself, but I'm giving them power over the people in our life. right? I'm giving them power over the people in our life that I interact with on a day-to-day basis, because that hurt's going to come out on other people. All right. So forgiveness is about saying, listen, I'm going to break free from all of that. I'm not going to hold that against someone else. Now, some of y'all might be thinking, all right, Matthew, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. Maybe I shouldn't actively hate people. Maybe I should learn to let some of this anger and hatred go. But I ain't going to forgive them. I ain't going to forgive them because what? I saw someone write it in the comment section. I'm just going to let karma get them, right? I'm going to let karma get them. I'm not going to forgive them. I'm going to let karma to get them. Now, maybe that's you, right? Well, that is certainly better than actively hating someone. That is certainly better than taking revenge. But here's my question to you people who say, I'm going to wait for karma. How long are you willing to wait for karma to give that person what they deserve before you start living your best life? How long are you willing to wait to let karma get that person what they deserve before you start living your best life? Like 6 months, a year. Some people wait a lifetime waiting karma to get them back. They're always following up. Maybe they're that person who hurt them, they're following up with their friends. They're always looking at their Instagram or their Facebook, trying to figure out, did they get what they deserve? I don't know about you, but I ain't going to put my peace on hold. I'm going to put my best life on hold, waiting for karma to give that person who hurt me what they deserve. I'm going to live my best life now. This is Forgiveness Culture. I'm your host, Matthew. We just talked about what the definition of forgiveness is in a static context, releasing the right to hate, releasing the right to revenge, and in so doing, releasing ourselves from the chains of victimhood. But what does that look like in a more dynamic context? Now, I like to say that forgiveness exists somewhere along the spectrum, right? We're going to forgive someone very differently who maybe makes a rude remark to us. We're going to forgive that person very, very differently than someone who commits a serious crime against us. Right? And again, just because we forgive someone doesn't mean we can't hold them accountable. Doesn't mean that there are no consequences to their action. So the consequences to someone who maybe makes a rude remark against us, right? We could say that forgiving that person may just mean having a conversation with them. Maybe on the other side of the spectrum, if someone commits a serious crime against us, we can forgive that person, but advocating for justice may mean, testifying in court so that person can go to prison. Just because we forgive someone doesn't mean that they get away with what they did. But we can still hold someone accountable while forgiving them. I can still advocate for your justice and for justice for myself without having animosity and hatred in your heart, right? And a good example of this, is cheating. I always like to use this example because I think everybody has either been cheated on, cheated, or knows someone who's been cheated on, right? If we're walking on a forgiveness path, there's no right or wrong way to handle cheating. Some people, right, they say if you cheat on me in a relationship, it's over. It's done. I'm not interested. We're breaking up. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord splits you, right? Some of people, they may be able to work past that infidelity, maybe work towards rebuilding trust. And if we're walking on a forgiveness path, there's really no right or wrong answer. But even if we let someone go from our lives, right? Even if we let someone go, we can still forgive them and have a heart and a mind and an energy that's free from animosity. We can say to that person, listen, you're not going to be part of my life anymore. You're not going to eat at my dinner table anymore, but that don't mean I don't want you to eat. But just because I want you to eat doesn't mean I want you at my dinner table anymore. We can still and I'm one of those people, guys, I advocate keeping people in your life at all costs. It's very hard for me to let someone go from my life. You have to do some really, really awful stuff for me to kick you out of my life, right? But even if you do kick someone out of your life, you don't have to wish badly upon them, because what does that really do? What end does that really serve, to wish badly upon someone? That doesn't really help you. That's not going to bring you peace. That's not going to add any value to your life. But we can say, just because I want you to eat doesn't mean I want you at my dinner table. But just because I don't want you at my dinner table doesn't mean I don't want you to eat. And that's true, Because guess who said that? Tupac. All right. So you know that it's true because Tupac said it, right? All right, y'all. I'm your host, Matthew. This is Forgiveness Culture. Every single week we bring rest in peace to the GOAT, Tupac. Uh, every week we bring to you guests and we talk about forgiveness related content and stories. Every single week we have guests. This week's guest, Emoji J, will be coming on in just a few minutes to share his own real life story of forgiveness. Thank you all so much for the gifts. I'm going to forgive me that Lexi. Oh, sorry. I'm supposed to be professional right now. Woof. Sorry. Got a little distracted now. One of my besties came in here. Didn't Tupac take revenge on Biggie by effing his wife? I'm not a rap history major, so I cannot confirm or deny that. I don't really know, but you know, sometimes we make mistakes in our life and then we learn from those mistakes how important really forgiveness really is. Now, this next segment of the show is called the Forgiveness Challenge segment of the show. And during the Forgiveness Challenge segment of the show, we dive into a difficult aspect of forgiveness. But this week, it's going to be an interactive segment. I'm going to open the floor to questions. So if anybody has any forgiveness-related questions, now is your time to have them answered. And I'm going to give you guys just a few minutes, and then we're going to move into the next segment of the show, which is our example of forgiveness that I got from the history books. All right. So does anybody have any forgiveness related questions? This is your time, your one and only time to have your questions answered. I could play the Jeopardy music. I could do a little dance. But while I wait for that, guys, thank you so much for going crazy here tonight. I appreciate you guys. Let me give a special shout out to my top. Let's go with 7. Number 7 coming in, Lexi Luminous. Thank you so much, Lexi. Edo Autumn Ocean. Thank you so much for your support, Edo. Miss Tawny, thank you so much. Miss Sonia. Number 3, Mr. Marty, the man, the myth, the legend himself. We got Mutt's Angels coming in number 2. Lexi again, woof, woof, woof. And Miss Kraken in first place. We love Kraken. Desire for cosmic justice, should we let it go? That's a really deep question. I definitely am an advocate for cosmic justice. That's why the name of the show is called Forgiveness Culture. What if she owes me $5,000 and just disappears after 9 years? Let me ask you a question. Is your peace worth $5,000? That would be my question to you. Well, if that's all it takes to buy your peace, I can't help you. There ain't no amount of peace. No amount of money that can buy my peace. All right. My peace is my peace. I don't want to live in emotional and mental anguish. So there's no amount of money that can buy my peace. That's difficult though. Y'all, for some reason, you know what? I'm going to say this on a real note. It's really hard to forgive people when it comes to money. Y'all ever notice someone could say the meanest, dirtiest thing against you, could hurt you in like a really awful way, and you can learn to forgive them, but they take your $300 and F them, F they mama, F they uncle, and F they auntie too. Like when it comes to money, like people just do not forgive. Y'all, that is because we need to, any psychology people in here, anybody know about Maslow's hierarchy of needs? I'm going to get into some real deep educational stuff here, all right? Anybody know about Maslow's hierarchy of need? At our base need, at the very bottom, is our need for security, okay? This goes before our need for pleasure, before our need for self-actualization, for education. Our basic need is security. And money, and the other thing it's tied, our basic need is freedom. We have a basic need to be safe and a basic need to be free. It goes deeper than any other need It goes even before our hunger, even before our need for, to eat. We need as people to be free and to be safe. And money is very closely tied to our freedom and to our safe and to our feeling of security. Like what could be more, what could speak to our sense of freedom more than money? What could speak more to our sense of freedom than money? If you asked me, Matthew, what could make you feel the freest right now? I'd say, give me $300,000, maybe four. All right, then I'm gonna feel really damn free. I'll feel really free if you give me $3 million. All right, now I'm gonna feel really free. I'm gonna feel really secure. That's why it's so hard to forgive people when it comes to money, because money is tied to our freedom and it's tied to our security. And those are our two most basic functional needs. That's why it's so crazy. That's why when we fight in relationships, like 9 out of 10 times, relationships fights can be traced back to either infidelity, trust, communication, or money. All right. Money is I think they said 70% of divorces happen to be rooted back to money. So that's why it's so hard to forgive. So I know that was kind of a troll question by Iman, but it's still a good lesson. When it comes to our money, we need to understand why money is so. Now, some people want money because they want to show off. They think it speaks to your value. If that's you and you need Balenciaga and Gucci and drive the BMW and you need to show off and have money for this shit. Oh, sorry. This stuff, let me explain something to you. Having money adds zero value to you. All right? Zero value to you. All right? It's what you do with that money. Viewing money as an ends will always get you in trouble. Money is always a means to an end, but it's not an end itself. And just because you have money doesn't mean that you're any better than anybody else. All right, guys, this is Forgiveness Culture. Our next segment of the show, before we get to our guest, is our example, our forgiveness example. Every single week, I give you an example of forgiveness, a real life story of forgiveness, either from popular culture, history, or current events. This is a real life story of forgiveness that comes from the Forgiveness Project charity, and it comes from a girl named Sarah. Years ago, Sarah and Lisa were inseparable friends, sharing secrets, dreams, and countless memories. However, as they embarked on different life paths, their communication dwindled, eventually leading to a complete loss of contact. Hurt and confusion festered in Sarah's heart as she felt abandoned by her closest friend, Lisa. But time had a way of altering perspectives, and as the years passed, Sarah found herself reflecting on their past with a softened heart. In an unexpected turn of events, Sarah learned that Lisa had been struggling silently with personal challenges during their time of separation. She had been struggling with loss, addiction, and some financial hardships that Sarah knew nothing about. Hearing about Lisa's hardships brought forth a rush of empathy, and Sarah began to comprehend that their lives had taken them on different journeys, each with its own set of struggles. Without ever rekindling direct contact, Sarah made a conscious choice to forgive Lisa for what she once perceived as abandonment. This act of quiet forgiveness not only lifted the weight from Sarah's heart, but served as a testament to the transformative power of empathy and understanding. Sarah's story of forgiveness teaches us that sometimes the act of forgiving doesn't require a face-to-face conversation or a formal reconciliation. Instead, it can be a personal journey of letting go and embracing the imperfections of human relationships. The passage of time allowed Sarah to recognize that forgiveness wasn't solely about absolving Lisa, but about freeing herself from the burden of resentment and rekindling a sense of peace. So be like Sarah and forgive that person who hasn't talked to you. Like, I got so many people even from this app, who say that I'm their best friend, that love me to death, but I ain't heard from them in about 2 or 3 months. Where are you? How come all of a sudden you too busy for Matthew? Well, guess what? I'm gonna forgive those people, because if I walk around with like angst against those people, I have enough things to worry about, y'all. I have enough things to worry about for real. Like I got some crazy news, crazy news coming to. By the way, Emoji J, you can request the box whenever. I got some crazy news, y'all. Matthew is officially stepping down as top badge in November. I'm not leaving the app. I'm not leaving the app. Hey, 90 Day Guy, that's me. And I have a special 90-day fiance. No, you're good, Jay. I have a special 90-day fiance announcement at the end of this show. So if you guys are fans of 90-Day Fiance, I have a special 90-Day Fiance announcement at the end of the show. So stay tuned. But I am in the process of having to sell my condo. I'm having to move. A lot of things going on. I'm getting back into the real world. I am going to be going to Live Fest, and that is my official like farewell as top badge. But that's why I want to keep my top badge until November. All right, I'm not trying to leave. I'm not trying to go to Live Fest and introduce myself like I'm Matthew. I'm the guy who just lost his top badge. I don't think so. We're gonna hit this 80K until then. All right. Now, let's get back on track with forgiveness. All right, let's get back on track with forgiveness. Our guest tonight is a superstar. He's a legend of the Meet Me. Thank you so much for your sandals, sir. He's a legend here on the app. He's a man, he's a myth, he's a legend. Right? He's a legend. And tonight, we're going to get to come face to face. I kind of feel like he's the Wizard of Oz, because he's been behind the curtains doing all this stuff for everybody, right? I really think that he should change his name to the Wizard of J. Anyway, let me introduce you guys to our guest here tonight. His name is Emoji J. I still think it should be the Wizard of J. That's what I think. Now I actually welcome to the show. I think this is our first time actually seeing each other face to face. I don't think I've ever seen you like live before. Well, you've been an informal admin of this show for a while. You are the reason that I have any presence on YouTube at all. So I really appreciate everything that you've done, not just for my show, but for, I don't think, even if we tried to count all the different shows that you have been, involved with, we would be able to do it, because you've been such a staple of the online community, of the live community, for so long. But if there is anybody here maybe for the first time ever and they didn't know who Emoji J was, can you just introduce yourself for us? Let us know who you are, when you go live, and what your vibe is all about. Right. Absolutely. And fun fact, y'all, The Idol, his show has, I remember the statistics, and he's had more shows than anybody else on the app. his show has been around and done more episodes than any other show. So when Emoji set Jay says he's been around there since the beginning. In the beginning of the app, it was Adam, Eve, and Emoji J. All right, that was how the app started. Well, thank you so much. I know that you've kind of been involved, like I said, kind of informally with forgiveness culture for now going on years. But I appreciate you being willing to share your own story. Who does your story involve? Okay, hey, yeah, listen, the floor is yours. You can talk about as much as you'd like. So walk us through it. Mm, understandable. What? Yeah, it's your story, man. Whatever. Yeah, tell it how you're comfortable. Sure. Mm, mm, yeah. Yeah. No, I think it's already hard when when a parent, I don't want to say maybe use the word abandon, but kind of chooses not to be the one to raise us. I think there's just automatically going to be feelings of like resentment, feelings of maybe just negative feelings towards that person, but having to deal with um, you know, the fact that this person is doing drugs and alcohol, and then as an adult, having to suffer verbal abuse from someone who didn't even wasn't even around to raise me. I just got to imagine that just had to create a whirlwind of different emotions for you. Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, it's got to be even tougher because, you went to your mom at a kind of a vulnerable place in your life. And that's like you were already kind of, I got to imagine, out on a limb, emotionally speaking, because, you had gone through a divorce. You're probably struggling, already with that. And to have someone who, instead of offering you a lifeline, you know, sticks their foot in your face and, put your head underwater even more. I just got to imagine that that made it very difficult to get to a place where you could actually forgive her. Wow. Yeah. That means a lot to me, man. How did you get? I mean, because I'm sitting here, I'm a very forgiving person, but I think it would be very difficult for me, even me as a very forgiving person, to go through the pain and the grief of a divorce, have to humble myself to live with a parent who was never present in my life, and then have to undergo the verbal abuse that you were talking about. I got to imagine that would be very difficult for me to be able to kind of go through that and be able to forgive my parent for doing that. How did you get to a place where you, I mean, I appreciate the show having an impact, but I mean, emotion, how did you work through those negative emotions? Yeah. No, I understand. Yeah. Yeah, and it's kind of like that story with Sarah and Lisa that I shared right before you came on. Sarah forgave Lisa without ever really talking to her. You don't need to have this formal kind of like interaction with someone to forgive them. Sometimes forgiveness is done in silence, and that's, I love that about your story. And I applaud you for being able to get to a place emotionally where you're able to do that, because I think that would be very difficult for anyone. Um, Before you were able to forgive your mom for that, uh, did you have any kind of like anger with towards her, or like hatred towards her, or was there what restoration? Right. I love that. Y'all, this is Forgiveness Culture. Every week we have guests who come on and share their own stories of forgiveness. This week we're talking with excuse me, Emoji J. Emoji J, how do you think your life would be different now if you had not been able to get to a place where you had forgiven your mom? Right. Yeah. No, I asked how your life would be different if you hadn't forgiven. Right. And one of the things that you said that really kind of struck me is how you were kind of finding your happiness in the midst of your mom kind of doing these things to you. Was you know, you were getting into streaming, and you were or you're getting into live, and you were doing these things with your friends. And I think there's a real lesson there, because you know that's how you said you were able to find happiness and find your peace. And a lot of times when we're going under something as painful as what you've gone through, we focus on that, right? We focus on the pain, we focus on what they did to us, and we're not able to find peace because we're so focused on getting even with that person, or that person getting what they deserve, that we're able to that we miss all this other stuff that can bring us peace. Like for you, it was the live community. Maybe for some people, it's hanging out with their friends. Maybe for some people, it's sports or whatever. But we miss all that when we're focusing on trying to get even, or trying to get revenge, or this hatred we have towards them. And your story really kind of helps me to see that even more clearly. Well, and you know, one of the things that struck me about your story is that your mom seems like she's got some really significant struggles in her life, you know, and trying to kind of keep that in mind and give that some perspective doesn't excuse her for what she did, but it kind of sometimes having that understanding kind of opens that door to being able to forgive that person easier. If we can understand, even though it doesn't give an excuse for what they did, we can kind of understand why they are the way they are, you know? Guys, this is Forgiveness Culture. Every single week, we have guests who come on the show who share forgiveness stories from their own life. This week, we've got the man, the myth, the legend, Emoji J. You may not have ever seen him like me face to face, but we see him here tonight. Normally, he's like the Wizard of Oz, behind the curtains, doing magical things, producing magical things for you to see on the screen. But tonight, he's here live in the flesh. All right, Jay, you know these two questions because we ask these two questions to every single guest. So you know what's coming, but I'm going to ask you anyways. My first question that we ask everybody is, if someone was listening to your story here tonight and maybe they've gone through something similar, or maybe they're going through something similar right now, what would be your best advice towards them? Yeah, absolutely. On the note of counseling, guys, I want to let everyone know that therapy, counseling is not, it's not anything to be ashamed of, and is not any sign of weakness. A therapist is really not there to solve your problems. And I think that's something that a lot of people get confused about. A therapist is there to help you solve your own problems. And sometimes we get so caught up in our routine, our ways of unhealthy thinking, or our own, you know, faulty ideas, that we have a problem solving our problems. A therapist is not there to tell you what to do. A therapist is not there to solve your problems. A therapist is there to help you solve your own problems. And they're really, therapy is about unlocking your own strength. So definitely, therapy makes you stronger. It definitely doesn't make you weaker. Last question, Mr. J. If somebody were to hear your story and be like, "Mom, I mean, your mom, she wasn't there for you. She was abusive towards you. She neglected you. She doesn't deserve your forgiveness." What would be your response to that? Yeah, for sure. Love that. I love that. I love that. And I always tell people that, if you don't want to be judged for your worst mistakes, don't judge others for their worst mistakes. Um, well, Jay, I'm so grateful that you came on the show. I know we've been wanting to get you on the show for a long time, and finally we got you scheduled. Great story. Thank you for so much for being willing to share your story. Before we let you go, could you just remind us, please, who you are, when you stream, and what your vibe is all about here on the app? Oh, wow. Absolutely. Well, thank you, Jay, for being on the show. And it was an amazing story. And thank you for sharing it with us. Yes, and y'all make sure to favorite Emoji J. Go show him some love. What another amazing guest share. Thank you so much to Mr. Emoji J. Guys, we are literally only 30K away from saving this badge. All right, we're saving this badge until